the rancor and the divisions they have over healthcare and the lack of expertise is sort of papers over a fair amount of agreement, right? Like there's a reason the prescription drug benefit looks like it does, and why Medicare Advantage looks like it does, and why Paul Ryan's proposed Medicare reforms look like they do. Like they like the idea of devolving, not of necessarily pulling the government fully out of the business of helping people finance healthcare. But if you're going to do it, spend less money on it, route the financing through private companies, and, kind of make the people who are benefiting from it sell their iPhones, basically, like put skin in the game. And you could do things, right, in the course of an Obamacare reform that gradually tried to merge all of that into one giant system, right? Like where you had a Medicare with more of a private competition aspect to it, and catastrophic insurance kind of undergirding the whole system, and you could auto enroll people into that, and just have just a seamless cloth of mandate, subsidize, regulate healthcare for the government at much less cost. But it would take 20 years to phase that in. But they're not even trying. Whatever animated their total war against Obamacare was very fateful, because I feel like it limited the strategic options available to them, right? Like, they made so many false depictions of the law, and where they didn't make false depictions, they kind of promised things, that they could make things better, right? So you had Obamacare is going to destroy freedom, but it also doesn't do anything, or it also makes deductibles too high. So they're going to repeal Obamacare to restore the freedom, but also make sure deductibles are lower. Like these things are heavily in tension, but that's the only approach that like meshes with the total war opposition model, right? And so now they're in this corner where they can't do anything considered, because if you're being considered about what you're doing, then you're not responsive to the emergency that you've said Obamacare is. But you're also unable to do anything that fixes the actual shortcomings of the law, like that some people can't afford their deductibles. And I just feel like if you could reverse the clock, and if they could go about Obamacare opposition in a more above board way, it would actually, in some ways, be worse for us Obamacare supporters, because they would have the ideological and political space they need right now to implement something slower burning, more considered, and would actually have a chance to succeed. But they basically have like this, one strike option where they either get it done and implement this probably unworkable alternative, or they get nothing.
Yeah, I think that's all correct. And it's funny, I don't know if you've noticed this, but just paying attention to the statements that people like Paul Ryan and McConnell and all the leaders in the House and Mike Pence, not so much Trump. Trump's an interesting figure in all of this. And we're running out of time, I'm sure, but that's like, put him aside. But all the other Republican leaders, the thing they keep saying, and really just more and more, I feel like, and maybe I'm just listening for it, but I feel like in the last week or two or three, as the kind of opposition is built and it's looked harder and harder to get this through, they keep talking about the fact that we made a promise. That word, it's a promise. It's a promise to repeal Obamacare.
Right, like promises are inviolable in the Trump era.
Yeah, right, yeah. And some of that I think is a statement about politics, right? It's like, because you don't want to go back on a promise, voters will punish you. Particularly in conservative politics, you don't want to go back on this promise, you'll get primaried by a Tea Party candidate. But I also think there is a kind of, we said we were going to do this, and so we're going to do this, and we may not remember why we said we were going to do this, or the reasons we said we were going to do this may turn out to be flimsier than we thought, and our solution may turn out to be really, really bad and not in any way similar to what we promised. But we promised it, so we're going to do it. And I almost feel like, and it's in a similar way. And why did they promise to do it? Because they were against Obamacare, because they were against it when it started, because they were never going to be part of this. And it was going to be the defining element of their politics to oppose this and wipe it off the books from the day Barack Obama took the oath of office. So Yeah, I mean, if they were in a more moderate place, they probably could. I would think their prospects of getting something done would be bigger. Um, and the sad thing is, I truly believe this, that if you put sort of, serious people on left and right in a room and said, look, this law has accomplished the following things, we can all agree. Millions of people got health insurance, and we know they're getting better access to care, and we know that they're more financially secure, and we all want that. So we all think that's good. We and we can say, and there's some other good things in the law. At the same time, we can all agree that, the markets are not stable in some states. They clearly are not. We can agree that there's some people who are now in a situation where they're paying a lot more for insurance, or, because the insurance is so expensive, they've had to switch to skimpier plans. And these are not rich people. These are middle class people. They're not doing so well with this system. This system has elements as conservatives we don't like, liberals has elements liberals don't like. Let's sit down. Let's put down our list of what we like, how we'd like to, what we would change, and let's find 5 items on each we can both put together. And that would, in a normal political environment, would not be that hard to do. You can imagine a system that actually both sides would feel good about because they'd be getting something they liked, even if they were giving up something. It would probably fix a lot of the problems. That would not be hard to do if you had a Republican Party that I think was committed to governing and acting in the way that you just described, and was willing to kind of put down the pitchforks and sort of make this work and move on to other things. But that's not where we are.